Okay. So you can let me know if you're having any trouble hearing me, but my name's Laurie Cook, as David mentioned. I'm with a new organization called the Housing Innovation Cooperative. And really, we're realizing we should have called it the Rural Housing Innovation Cooperative because that's what we're really focused on. And also, we're focused on identifying where the gaps are that people are not, there's so much going on in the housing sector right now and for affordable housing. We're not interested in duplicating anything that anybody else is doing. We're interested in looking for the gaps and then trying to fill those gaps. So my journey, so we've just had a fairly large picture related to affordable housing and some of the challenges painted. I'm going to sort of scale things down to a specific rural community that I'm part of and looking at things specifically from a rural point of view. I live in Musquodoboit Harbour. In 2006, Musquodoboit Harbour had a community visioning exercise that was supported by HRM, Halifax Regional Municipality. And as part of that visioning exercise, in 2006, housing was identified as a critical issue, especially for older adults or seniors that knew they wanted to downsize in their own communities. So backing up the research that we just saw from Laurie as well, we heard in 2006 that people want to stay in their community, they want to age in place, they want to stay close to home, they don't want to go to Baker Drive in Dartmouth, and leave the community, leave the people they know, leave family members, all that kind of stuff. So in 2006, though, and 2007, when council approved our actual vision and what we wanted to do, unfortunately, the visioning program was discontinued because basically HRM felt the expectations that were being generated from the community by these exercises were too much, that people were dreaming for too much, asking for too much, and so they shut the program down. But so that's just and I did my master's research on that, so it's not just an anecdote. I actually did my master's on that issue. But it's really interesting how things have shifted over time. So back in 2006, 2007, and we had a 2014 community development plan that reiterated that housing was a major concern still for people. The lack of variety of housing was the major issue. So many single detached family homes, not enough smaller places to rent or options. And we now have the old school community gathering place in the harbor has a housing navigator, and I think, Karen, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's about 190 people on that housing needs list, or it's gone up. Okay, so we know what the housing need is in our particular area, and just to scope it down, that's 200. Now, some of this is being addressed by people like my friend Anita Rose, who's co-founder of Eastern Shore Mental Health with me, and Anita's been doing an amazing job of trying to match people with other people. So for instance, a single mother with kids needing housing, and Anita happens to know another single mother with kids and, thinks they might be a good match. And, it's one single mother with kids who's been through the difficulties of that, and helping another single mother with kids. So I think that's a tremendous success, but it takes an organization to support that kind of matchmaking, screening, and even building trust, right? There's a critical issue when you're talking about home sharing around trust. You need to be able to create some kind of sense of safety if you're going to bring someone new into your home. Also, though, people who live in rural communities, they're what we heard very clearly from seniors and older adults in 2006 was that yes, they wanted to downsize, they don't want to leave the community, but they also want their space. So if you've grown up or spent a lot of time in a rural community, you're used to having your own space, a sense of independence and way of doing things. So given some of these things that have been articulated, fortunately, in 2006, 2007, HRM was very much against increasing growth in rural communities. They've changed their tune. Now they're very keen to encourage accessory dwelling units or granny flats type of thing. They have a policy of gentle density where they will now allow tiny homes and prefabricated, smaller dwellings on the same property with a main dwelling. What that means, and is really exciting, especially for seniors and older adults, is they can leverage any equity they have in their own property and do what I'm starting to call land sharing. So I would say it's a form of home sharing, but you get a little more distance, right? A little more from each other than being exactly in the same house. And the idea is that someone could downsize into an ADU on their own property and then rent out their main dwelling. And this is very common. We've seen it in California, we've seen it in BC, we're starting to see it in Ontario. And that's part of the research project that we're working on right now, is just looking at what's been done elsewhere around this stuff and what's working and what maybe is not working and what people are learning. And then how can we apply that to our context and situation here in Nova Scotia. So I think it's really important to think about a range of options. I think home sharing is one of them. I think land sharing, as I'm starting to call it, is another, where you enable people to downsize, stay on their own property, and then potentially rent out their main dwelling. And that could be a place for co-housing where maybe you put two single mothers together with their kids in the house, or you put two young people together or three young people together in the house, or this kind of thing. So it opens up new ideas and ways of enabling home sharing to happen, because the older adult or senior has moved out, got their own place, they're able to downsize, they're able to stay in their own community, but it frees up their main dwelling for home sharing as well. So I think we need a range of strategies, not just one or the other. I also think we need a rural housing strategy. And I know Kevin talked about community land trusts, and I think that's a great initiative. But I think there should be a land trust for urban and suburban HRM and a land trust for rural HRM, because the needs are very different. The expectations are very different. So yeah, I'll just leave it there for now. And I am on LinkedIn. If anybody's familiar with LinkedIn, you can find me, Laurie Cook, on there if you'd like to reach out and chat about anything. And I'll be here for a little bit today, as long as I've had some back issues and my legs, so as long as I can stay, I will stay, but I may have to go at some point.